Good morning and welcome to We've Got Stories. I am Dorothy Garrison, and what we're going to do today, we're going to highlight some women that has impacted our society. Women have pressed their way through mental and physical abuse. They didn't fall down and stay there, but they got back up. So today we're going to talk to some women that have made great impacts on society. We're going to talk to women that has written books, women that has that sings, women that writes poetry. We're going to highlight them today on our broadcast. You're going to be so glad that you tuned in today. You don't want to miss anything. Women also are multitaskers. Women has the ability to bring home the bacon, fried up in a pan, and never let their man forget he's a man. How about that? Women are very unique creatures, and this is the way God has intended it to be. We know that James Brown at one time said that this is a man's world, but it wouldn't be nothing without a woman or a girl. This is the human race's world, but it would not be anything. Imagine life without a woman. Imagine life without someone who can take into her womb and incubate and give life and create. We don't want to imagine it, do we? No, we don't. But what we're going to do, we're going to talk to one of our guests that we have today. We have a guest in the studio this morning. We have Reverend Pamela Gray Addison, who's a pastor, who's a mother, full-time employee. Talking about multitasking, we're going to ask her, first of all, how she balances. So, Reverend Addison, tell me, how do you balance being a mom, grandmother too, I think I heard you say, and working, pastoring, and I know the job of a pastor is quite demanding. How do you balance?
Miss Garrison, first of all, let me just say thank you for having me on your show. It's a great opportunity to come and to sit with you and to discuss the issues that we as women face. But to answer your question, I do it by the grace of God. Mm-hmm. No other way. There is just no way we can do it without God's help, God's mercy, God's grace. It is a very demanding job to pastor, to work a full-time job, to also, I'm also working on my doctorate. Also,
you're going to school too.
A grandmother, a mother, and then to just be present, have a sense of presence for yourself. It requires that we, the mercy and grace of God. But one of the things that I try my very best to do is every day get in a private place, my own silent, secret place, and commune with God, and get the strength that I need to deal with, and so that I am balanced. It doesn't always happen that way.
Oh, okay.
Some days are not as balanced as other days. But, I found that relationship with God is what keeps me balanced, keep me from actually losing my mind.
Okay. And there's fulfillment also in doing what you know God has called you to do.
So much fulfillment in knowing that I am actually doing what God has called me to do. It's so rewarding to know that people are helped, that particularly women are helped, that they can call and they can say, I just want to talk to you about a particular issue. And then the thing that really, really does my spirit good is to know that when they talk to me, that it's confidential. They don't have to worry about it being put on the wings of the morning and everybody knowing or being able to discuss what they discuss with me. It's private. I then take it between me and God. And I just take it up to God and just say, God, this is what's going on. I need for you to just kind of look at this situation. So it is very rewarding. It's very, very rewarding to see people change their lives.
Oh, yes.
Because you've spoken into their life, because God has given you something that speaks to them. There's a scripture in Isaiah says that He has given me the tongue of the learned, that I may be able to speak a word to him who is weary at the right time. And so I try to make sure that I'm listening to God. I'm studying. I'm praying. I'm hearing God, so that I just don't say anything. when people call, when
Okay,
when
yeah.
a woman calls. I want to be able to speak into her situation so that she is impacted and so that she does have an opportunity to just
Okay.
hear from God.
Okay, you know, it is good to have somebody that you could go to,
Always.
somebody that you trust, and you
Always.
trust that somebody's just going to give wise counsel,
Always.
you know,
Always.
and to have
Always.
somebody that you can go to
Always.
when in a time of need and when you need answers, or and I know that you direct them to God when you may not have all of the answers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But when you give them just a word of encouragement or tell them who to go to, to get the answer from, and that's rewarding to you as well as to them.
It is. It's very rewarding. It's rewarding just to know that we are actually, or I'm actually stepping in the direction that God has called me. Sometimes we don't know the purpose or our purpose, but I truly believe that I'm doing what God has called me to do.
Oh,
and I can see, I can see the growth in our church. I can see the growth in the members. I can see friends who are who once were maybe not as strong as they are now, but being there for them, being there with them, have caused them to be able to stand a little stronger, and it's rewarding. It's rewarding.
That is good. So then you got past the challenges. I'm sure there were challenges in the beginning.
Oh yeah, and there still are challenges.
Okay.
There are challenges. We still live in a male-dominated world, and so we still have male and female who haven't really subscribed to women preachers or women pastors, particularly women pastors. So that challenge still exists, but one of the things that I try to remember is that I'm working for God, and that I really don't have to give an explanation for what I do to anybody else, because I'm working for God.
Okay.
But the challenges exist. Learning how to balance, learning how to do what's necessary. There's a challenge. It is a challenge.
Oh, I know it is, but there are a lot of times, a lot of people are not up for the challenge. But that's good. It takes a powerful, strong-willed person to be up for the challenge and then to enjoy it. To enjoy it. And then you said something about, which I can agree with too, about how being rewarding, and then not giving up and not having to explain yourself to people, because in the beginning of ministry, that's what I started to do. I started to try and explain to people what I was doing and what God had called me to do, and then He told me, He said, "You're working for me." So I got your back. Don't worry about it. So that's very, 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 very key to know who we're working for, who gave us this assignment. And he goes before us and makes our pathway straight.
He sure does. He does. One of the things that I've realized is that when we start fighting that battle of trying to defend our ministry, defend our calling, then we get in the wrong battle. We end up fighting a battle that God didn't call us to fight. He called us, and He'll make the way. And as you say, He'll make the way straight. When we get into the battle of trying to defend the call, trying to let somebody know that we are doing what we're supposed to be doing, we get in the wrong fight, and so we lose ground, lose time. And so I just decided,
that's right.
Decided that I'm not going to defend the call. I'm going to show myself approved. I'm going to let God work. Let God work, stand for Himself.
And that's good. And that's good. Because, that's what Jesus did. He was confident in who He was. And that's why I heard Tasha say so many times about how he knew who He was. And so that's why the Pharisees would get so upset with him. He was so confident in who He was. So the negative things they said, He always had something to come back to him with, because He knew who He was. So this is what God wants us to be confident in who we are and who He has called us to be in our assignment. And He know that He's got our back.
He does.
He does. Well, the book that you wrote, the Women Who Worship. Women Who Worship. Reverend Addison is also an author, along with all of her other tasks. She's written this book, Women Who Worship, a very, very powerful book. One thing that stood out to me when I read it, when you were talking about how Nehemiah was building the wall and how the people were trying to distract him to get him to come down.
Yeah.
So when we're on our assignment, we will have people that will
all
come
the
to try to distract us, to get us to come down, to come off. But what happens when we do what people want us to do? We miss the mark.
Yes,
we miss what God wants us to do. What inspired you to write this book?
Well, because I talk to so many women who are confronted with challenges. You know, some of them are single parents, some of them are married, some of them have as many things to do as I do or you do as a career person, career woman. And I want to be able to speak directly to the hearts and mind and the spirit of women during those times when we just feel like giving up. Because it'll happen. You know, we're human, we're frail, and it'll happen. You know, the enemy will throw so many things at us at one particular time. And it'll be at a point where, you know, you get up not feeling your best, you get up not feeling like, you know, you really have gotten enough rest or enough strength. And it's at that particular time that he says, okay, I can pounce on her now, and I can just make her break. And so I wanted to, and I just felt very led by God to write a book that was dedicated to speaking to all of those women who have given their lives making somebody else's life work. You know, because so many times as a woman, we lose our own identity because we're so busy making sure everything else is working for somebody else. Particularly our children. You know, we're trying to make sure they're at ballet or they're at football practice or piano recitals or that they are doing well in school, and we lose, or even if we're married, we're trying to make sure he's okay, and so we lose ourselves. And we often, it's really a privilege and a blessing if we have at least one girlfriend that we can talk to. Just one girlfriend that we can talk to, not the girlfriends who's going to say, if I were you, I would do that. Not that girlfriend. We don't want that girlfriend. We want the girlfriend that's going to say, look, you're going to be all right. God is going to see you through this. We want that girlfriend, not the one that's going to tell you, this is what you ought to be doing. All that networking. We want the one who will take your issue straight up to God and say, God, she's struggling right now. She's having a hard time right now, and she needs to hear from you. It's a privilege and a blessing to have at least one good girlfriend, so that when we get to a point where we're about to break, we can just say, I just need for you to pray. We don't have to tell her what's going on. We don't have to elaborate on it. We don't have to expand on it. We can just say to her, I need for you to pray for me right now. So that book was written primarily from women who are in ministry, who have actually dealt with or just walked with other women as they were at those points where they needed a word of encouragement. And it's written to inspire, to encourage, to uplift, to instruct, to just help bless a woman as she's at that point where she's saying, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. So she can pick up this book and she can read some of the things that we've written. And it's a compilation. I can't take full credit for writing this book, but it's a compilation of devotionals of about 17 different women in ministry. We each wrote 7 devotionals. And each of them are designed to just empower women, to just encourage women.
But what would make your book a bestseller? Why do you think this book, would be on the list of the bestseller?
I believe because it is a book that goes straight to encouraging a woman. Encouraging her, particularly again at that point where she's actually saying, I can't do this anymore. And so many times in the career world or in ministry, or even if you're an at-home mom, you have all of these things that we are trying to do and trying to make sure we do them well. And sometimes we just get to a point where we're saying, again, there's a point where we just get tired. But this book, I believe this book will speak to the hearts of women and say, you're not by yourself. That there are other women who are doing the very same thing. And so you can unite with these other women and say, you know what, there's some other women who have done just what I'm doing and have made it. And if they can do it by the grace and the power and the will of God, so can I. And I think
yes.
that in itself will make this book a bestseller. Because we need to be able to, as women, get empowered. And it needs to be from people who have sat before the Lord.
Okay.
Really sat before the Lord and are really hearing what God has to say. Not something that's coming out the top of your head or rolling off your lips as you think about it, but something that God has given you to speak to women, to the hearts of women, so that you can continue to serve God.
And Reverend Addison, I also read where you were talking about we were being taught to be in relationship with God. But when we have our experiences, that's when we are truly in relationship, and I can truly identify with. I've been in church all of my life as well, and I was taught, and which is good, it's good. But when I had my experiences, when the world beat me up, then that's when I found myself doing the things that I had been taught to do. I found myself praying and going to God. And it's at that time my experience with God was deeper, was great. I knew Him better than what anybody else could have told me about Him. So this book is great.
Well,
it's great, much needed. I mean, and you're going to tell the people how they can get this book.
I am.
Okay, share with them about the title of the book and how they can get the book.
Okay. The title of the book actually came about out of that experience with finding God, knowing God. You mentioned in the book that I write about how when we go to church, we learn how to worship God. We learn how to raise our hand. We learn how to sing. We learn how to everything we do. We learn most of worshiping in church. But it's not until we have really gotten into that hot water or gotten into that situation where we just didn't know how we were going to get out of it, or where we needed something for our children or for our babies, or trying to pay tuition. I don't know about you, but it was a struggle for me to get my daughter through high school and through college. And so it's at those moments that we then really find out who God is, how He is a provider, how He is gracious, how He is a lover of our souls. And it's at that moment we really learn how to worship God for who He is, because He's been so wonderful. And that's why we titled the book Women Who Worship. Women who worship God out of our experiences with Him. And you can contact me for the book, or we can go straight to the publisher, who is Grant Publishers, and purchase the book. It's also listed and found in Tennessee Regular Baptist Bookstore.
Okay.
It's there. And
what about online?
We're working on getting it online.
Okay.
He was actually working on that last week, so hopefully by now we're able to get it online through his publishing house.
Okay.
But it is available. You can contact me, or you can actually go straight to Grant House Publishers or to Tennessee Regular Baptist Bookstore.
Is there a phone number you'd like to give?
Yes, you can contact me. The number is 901-340-0434. And my email is pamaddison@att.net. You just write me a little note, say I'd like to have your book, and I'll make sure you get a copy of the book. And we're selling it for $12.95.
Okay.
That might be helpful.
Great. Okay, thank you so much for coming on and being with us today.
Thank you so very much,
Reverend Addison, and also your church. Where's your church? Maybe somebody wants to come and visit your church.
Well, that would be wonderful. My church is located just outside, or just beyond Coral Lake subdivision. It's 4670 Mary Angela Road, Shelby Drive in Mary Angela, just past the Coral Lake subdivision in South Memphis.
Okay.
And it's called Kingdom Life Baptist Church.
Kingdom Life.
Yes.
Kingdom Life. I like that title. Thank you so much,
Thank you again,
Reverend Addison.
me.
Thank you for coming. And we will be telling people about your book.
Well, thank you.
Because it's blessed me, and I hadn't read a whole lot of it yet, but it has been a blessing to me already.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We have another author, On the broadcast today, she has been writing since she was 10 years old. Yes, she's a writer, she's an author, she's a poet. She's written a book called The Ministry of Sex. But she's not going to talk about her book today. What she's going to share with us today is poetry. Her name is GT, also known as Natasha Garrison. She's going to share her poetry with us today.
Good morning, everyone. As my mother, Dorothy Garrison, just said, my name is GT, which stands for God's Treasure, and I also go by Natasha Garrison. Today I'm going to do a poem, and it's entitled Freedom Prayer. It says, free me to be me, despite who I may lose. I'm not comfortable with living a lie, so living truthfully is what I choose. Free me from being consumed by what others may think of me. I wasn't born to be who others want, but I was created to be me. Help me to let go of negative thoughts that I may have of myself. I understand that you placed me here to be a bright light, not something hidden on a shelf. Help me to grow beyond haters and those that try to hold me down, because in my weakest hour none of them aided me. God, only you were around. Free me from insecurities and low self-esteem, and help me to realize and understand what being created in your image truly means. I know that I can't be a mistake if all things from you are good and perfect. Help me to remember this when myself and others continually point out my flaws and my defects. Free me to fulfill your purpose for me being placed on this earth, all the while casting aside feelings of inferiority and low self-worth. Help me to not judge others, for you said we be judged by that same measure, but bring to my remembrance that we all are your special treasures. Free me from myself, from the times that I want to do right, but for some reason I don't. The times when I'm neglecting what it is that I need because I'm too busy chasing what it is that I want. Free me from the mind games that often play out inside of my head. And free me from the times when I feel as if I'm better off dead. Free me from the past that is better off left behind. And help me to make the most of the rest of my life, because there is no such thing as pressing rewind. Lord, I thank you for the changes that have taken place within me. I feel better than I've ever felt before, simply because I am free to be me. Thank you.
I'm going to share with you today a poetry piece written by GT. It's called Welcome to My World. In my world, bad seems to overcome good. There's crime in every city, on every block, and yes, in every hood. There seems to be no inclination to do what's right. Bad seems to reign supreme, while good is kept out of sight. In today's relationships, there seems to be no concern. People are constantly taking things that they didn't even earn. But am I wrong for desiring relationships where we both teach and we both learn? I try to reflect on a world where harmony once lived, where it was a crime to take and people had a heart to just give. It seems that I search for hope on a dark night without a flashlight, praying for even just a hint of daylight. Day to day, these acts becomes more and more acceptable, as if to say righteous living can't happen because we're incapable. Now people are being penalized for speaking the truth. With that being said, what message does that send to you, to me, and even to our youth? Why raise a generation that nobody can trust? Is our world and government not screwed up enough? But I continue to persevere, seemingly to no avail. Looks like only the corrupt ones prevail and even excel. Like Martin Luther King, I dream of a promised land where the righteous, the good come together, not tear down, but rule this land. I'm dreaming of a world where embracing people's differences become a way of life, where squashing beefs isn't handled with a gun or with a knife. I'm dreaming of a world where I am free to be me, where it ain't my hair, it ain't my complexion, it ain't my body, but it's my heart's intent that you see. I'm dreaming of a place where refuge can be sought, where respect and love are not just earned, but it's also taught. I'm dreaming of a place that's exceptional, yet unique. Whether you're ill or just having a bad day, you can always find peace. I want to overcome the limitations that's set for me, to be the best person that I was created, born, and destined to be. But even in the midst of this turmoil and ruin, I give thanks to my Creator, because I truly believe and I uphold the cliche that it gets better, it gets greater, and even greater later. Welcome to my world.
Somebody